sorry. Aubrey, that's 10, Ada, that's 8, and Avery, that's 5.
That would be you and me, Mr. Littlefield.
Thanks, sir.
Dive right in. The story behind the decision by Jewish Family and Community Services to use its shelter on Darlington Road as a halfway house for Central American illegal immigrant boys is complicated, no doubt, but the reaction to it has not been. Where do you stand on the agency's request to double the number of beds in the shelter, and why?
Thank you, Tom. I addressed the county commission last week on this subject matter. I thought it was that important that I take a stand and I address them and also make a suggestion to them. I have a plaque hanging on my wall thanking me for my involvement in the West Coast Jewish services, thanking me for the funding that I helped get for them. A large opportunity here to send a loud message to the federal government that we do not want to be the dumping ground for their failed policy of closing the border. I can tell you that when we still have veterans that sleep in the woods and on benches, and we have children that wake up in the back seat of an automobile and get dressed for school in a gas station bathroom, we have no business to go beyond our Jerusalem. And I stated that that was a biblical principle, first in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and then to the uttermost parts of the world. Let's make sure that we send a large, loud message to the federal government that we are not going to be co-conspirators with their failed policy of closing the border and not repealing the law that says that these illegals can be released from federal government, from federal custody during their hearing. I vote no.
Point of order here, if we could withhold on applause between candidates, otherwise we'll be here all night. Mr. Moore. Same question.
Well, you were with me last week when I answered this question the first time.
They weren't here.
Well, you weren't. You remember this. And I'm going to stick by that. One thing you're going to notice from me tonight is that I'm not going to get a long, drawn-out spin answer. I'm going to tell you how it is, tell you my thoughts, and be done with it, okay? Same thing I said last week. I would not approve the rezoning. That facility is for our seniors here in Pasco County. That facility was built for our seniors here in Pasco County, for our disabled seniors, and that needs to be for them. I do not like to see the federal government intermingle in our county politics. Again, I would vote no. Thank you.
Mr. Robertson.
It has come down to a discussion of Agenda 21 here, which talks about the sustainability of just about everything. Common Core is a part of Agenda 21. But the subject matter here is the mobility fees, which goes into my policy that, and the builders and the developers have already agreed that those could be more than doubled and they would be happy with it. And I'm surprised that Mr. Moore, who is strongly supported by the developers, the big landowners, the engineers, and all of those that go along with that, suggesting that he does not agree with that when they are pushing it. It is one way that growth can pay for itself.
Mr. Moore, 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I actually talked to quite a few of them on a regular basis, and it's not that before doubling it, that cost will be pushed back onto the consumer. So you may have to talk to a couple of people that support it, and more than talk to did not want that they would not want to double those fees. Again, going back to what you spoke of about Agenda 21 and smart growth, you know, once you have somebody like the United Nations dipping into Pasco County, you know, I'm not a fan of that. And oh, thank you very much.
Mr. Moore, okay.
You might repeat that question.
There's been a lot of talk about redevelopment on US 19. How would you kickstart that?
Okay, great, thank you. Well, one thing I think we need to do is look at code enforcement. And I know that I'm looking at I've looked at the Grant County budget, and they're pushing that a little harder. When it comes to code enforcement, the sheriff also has talked about having some volunteers with code enforcement. You drive up 1980 days a week, you know what you see. You're looking at drug dealers, you're looking at a lot of homeless people, you're looking at panhandlers, you're looking at other folks walking up and down the street. You've got a lot of roach motels. I would consider the roach motels where obviously people hang out there dealing drugs and committing crimes. And it's going to come down to the point of who wants to be there, who wants to move, who wants to start a business next to a business like that. And code enforcement needs to come into play. They need to step it up a notch. We need to look at technology for our code enforcement officers. We also need to look at obviously providing the resources the sheriff's department needs to get rid of a lot of the crime in the area. When it comes to economic development, we also need to look at, we talked about some of these dollars that are coming from the penny from Pasco. Let's push some of those dollars into 19 and working on the economic development in 19.
Mr. Moore, 4 years ago you ran for mosquito control district, and you called yourself someone who is fiscally responsible and believe in smaller government and lower taxes. If that is the case, why would you believe, or why would you support a bureaucracy for mosquito spraying? Shouldn't that be a function of Pasco County's government's utilities or public works departments? Should the county commission ask voters to disband the special taxing district for mosquito control?
Geez, I think that's been a while, but I think 4 years ago I ran because I said they were spending too much money. And they needed to cut the budget. They were spending money on a building, like $7.5 million on a new building to store chemicals. So, am I fine with it going into the county and get rid of that? Sure. I'm pretty sure I said that back then. But again, you gotta get somebody on the board, obviously, that wants to cut spending, and right now, they don't have it. They didn't have it back then either. I wasn't for the, again, $7.5 million for a building. The millage rate could have been a lot lower if they didn't have to spend the money on that building. And, yeah, I'm for it in the county. I'm calling it that whatsoever.
I find some comfort at 2:30 in the morning when I hear that truck go through our neighborhood with that little gasoline engine on the back spraying for mosquitoes. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate you bringing up the election 4 years ago when my opponent ran for mosquito control. He got 13% that day. His message wasn't resonating very good. He blamed, I think it's interesting, when asked, why did you lose that election? He said, well, my opponent's name was Skeeter. And so I think that's the reason why he won. I would say that it's probably because Mike was running under the name Michael Moore at that time, and that is an unfortunate name for a Republican candidate.
That's pretty good. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, try to be Skeeter. You're not being Skeeter. I'm telling you right now. You're not being Skeeter. It's not happening. I don't care if your last name is Bush, Obama, whoever. It's not happening. You're not being Skeeter. So, what else would I need to? How else would I need to respond to this? Except for, again, I know Bob was talking about not getting rid of it. Kim was saying not getting rid of it. Then we were talking about getting rid of it. You still have the trucks, you still have the staff, you just put it under the county versus special tax district. So, simple as that. Is that me right now? I don't know. I've never thought about it that much, so we can look into it.
Rather than taking my minute to tell you something about me that you may already know, let me talk about one of our candidates about something that you may not know. If you were a Republican primary voter, you probably got one of these in the last couple of days. You may have thought this was from Mike Moore. It is not. There is nothing on here that says that he approved it, that he paid for it. This comes from a third party. It comes from an electioneering committee. Did it come from Land O'Lakes or Dade City? No, it didn't even come from Pasco. It came from Tallahassee, from a group that wants to make sure that Mike Moore is elected, and either Mike or his consultants, who are also lobbyists, have convinced these people that to elect Mike Moore would be in their best interest. Look for it.
Can I see it? I haven't seen it yet. That's great. Good picture of me, actually. Let's talk about something we didn't talk much about today. Let's talk about jobs. One of the things that's going to help this county is bring more high-paying, secure jobs to Pasco County. for far too long, so many of our residents here in Pasco County have been leaving the area every day just to travel to Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, or even in Orlando, just to make that long commute home in the evening. And we're losing some of our best and brightest, our youngest best and brightest, because after college, they're not coming back to Pasco County because the jobs aren't here. So when we start bringing more high-paying, secure jobs here in Pasco County, we can have a strong economic foundation to build upon for years to come. And that means we're going to have some of the things that we need, and some of the things that we want here in Pasco County too, without having to ask you, the taxpayer, to raise more taxes. So if you're looking for somebody that's going to bring fresh ideas to the table, somebody has a vision for the future, and somebody's not stuck in the policies of the past that haven't worked, you'll vote for Mike Warren on August 26th. Thank you very much.